Do you want to know one of the most important things that you can do to improve your communication with animals? In this video, I'll share one of my top tips for helping you to hear your animal companions and connect deeply with all life. Hi, I'm Nancy Windheart, and on this channel I talk about animal and interspecies communication and healing. I've been helping people to better understand their animal friends for almost 2 decades, and I love teaching other people how they can reclaim their natural ability to communicate telepathically with animals and all life. If you're new here, welcome, and I would love it if you would subscribe and like. That really helps this channel to grow and to reach more people. If you're an old friend, welcome back. One of the most important things that we as humans can do if we really want to be able to hear and communicate with other species is to be quiet. Now, this is simple, but it's not necessarily easy, as I'm sure we all know. Our human world is noisy, and our human language is noisy. Our internal world is also often noisy with thoughts and worries and ideas. If we can learn to be quiet and to cultivate both inner and outer silence, we'll be able to create space where we can hear and understand other species, and where they'll be comfortable to be with us and to communicate with us. Many animals have communicated with me over the years about how noisy they feel humans and the human world are. I remember when the human world shut down during the pandemic in those first months where everything was quiet. Many animals shared with me that their lives really improved because of the reduction in human activity and noise. And this was everyone from companion animals to wild animals of all species. So cultivating quiet doesn't have to be hard, and it doesn't necessarily mean that you need to meditate for hours on end. Of course, if you have a meditation practice, this is one of the things that can be really helpful. But a lot of people get kind of intimidated by that and think they need to, sit cross-legged on a meditation cushion for a couple of hours a day in order to be quiet. And that's not what is required. What is needed is just to create enough space in our lives where we can slow down a little bit and be present to the life around us and to be still. So here are some simple ideas for doing this and cultivating this in your daily life and in your home. The first is turn off the phone. Turn off your phone, turn off your notifications, and also turn off your background noise, such as TV or music, for periods of time throughout the day. Obviously, in our current world, most of us can't live without our phones in a permanent kind of way. But all of us have the capacity to limit how much distraction we allow into our life. So start by maybe 10 minutes, scattered throughout the day. 10 minutes in the morning, maybe 10 minutes when you take a lunch break, and 10 minutes in the evening before you go to bed, or even one of those 10-minute slots. Do what works for you given your life and your situation. But turn all that background noise off. And just use this time to sit quietly with an animal friend or a plant or a tree, whether you're indoors or outside. Just take a few minutes to just allow that external distraction to be silenced. Next, see if you can find a place either in your home or near your home where you can be free of distractions for short amounts of time or longer amounts of time. This might be in your garden or in your yard, in a quiet room. If it's not possible for you in or around your home, maybe there's another place that you can go, such as a quiet park or someplace outdoors at a friend's house, for example, where you can be quiet for a few minutes at a time. You'll need to communicate with people that you live with that you need some quiet time, and request that you not be disturbed, even if just for a few minutes. And I know this can be challenging, especially for people with children or people even in multi-animal households or people who live with other humans. But it's not a big ask to just say, I need 5 minutes. And this is what I'm going to do for that 5 minutes, and I'll be back with you after that time is over. And then use that time again to just do these practices of being quiet and listening. Next, be aware of too much talking. Our species is so talky. We talk and talk and talk and talk and talk. It's the way we communicate. It's one of our unique abilities as humans to have our verbal and also our written language. It's what allows me to make this video to share with you. So this is not to denigrate all talking, but many of us are uncomfortable with silence. And so we fill that silence, we fill that space with a lot of unnecessary chatter. This is actually a habit, and it's a habit that can disconnect us from ourselves, from our inner world, from our inner knowing, from our inner listening, and it can also distract us from the outer world and from the other beings who share our world but don't share our language. So just pay attention to this. Pay attention to how much you talk. Pay attention to what you are saying when you talk. Are you really communicating something that's essential? Or are you just talking to fill the space? And if it's the latter, just pay attention to that and cultivate another practice of just stopping. Think before you speak. Think, is this really necessary communication? Is this something that I need to say, or am I just saying this because I'm feeling uncomfortable with the situation or uncomfortable with the idea of being quiet? Notice that urge to talk, and then you can choose to do something different. And this can actually be quite a deep contemplative practice, because when we notice our kind of compulsion to fill the space, it allows us, if we're willing, to kind of drop a layer deeper and do some self-inquiry about what's really going on. Maybe we're wanting to avoid something hard. Maybe we're wanting to not have to face something that we know is going on, either in our inner or external worlds. So it can be a very deep practice to just cultivate that ability to pause before talking and to bring in periods of silence throughout the day. Oftentimes when I teach animal communication classes and workshops, whether online or in person, I ask students to really set aside these quiet times. And in workshops, we might do it, if it's a residential workshop, we might have a silent breakfast time, or we might have a silent break time where we're not going to be speaking with each other. In online classes, I ask students to cultivate what I call a stillness practice, where you're just quiet for a period of time in your day. And again, short times can be very, very beneficial. It doesn't have to be long periods of time, but you'll find that this is really very, very useful. And you can engage your family and friends in this practice if they're open to it. And then notice the sense of quiet and peace when the talking stops. That creates an opening for other species, right? For us to be able to hear and connect with and be present with other species, as well as being present with other humans in a different way. Then next, I invite you to notice your inner noise. So when we learn to quiet our minds and our internal voices, those thoughts and those worries and the list making, all of the things that we're in the habit of doing, it can take practice to really learn to allow that to settle down as well. And so the first thing to do is just to notice that. Notice the inner chatter, notice the list making, notice the to-do list, notice the way we ruminate about things in our lives, whether our work or our families or, all of the things that we need to keep on top of in our human world. And just notice that inner noise. And then with a lot of gentleness, and I encourage you to really be compassionate and tender with yourself with this, rather than kind of shaming and blaming, which isn't going to be useful at all. Just bring your focus elsewhere. So you could focus on your breath. There's a reason that a lot of meditation practices start with the breath as a place of focus, because it's always with us. We're always breathing while we're alive, and we can just bring our awareness very easily and gently to our breath, following the breath in and out of our body. Or we could focus on the sensations of our body as we're sitting in a chair, or the texture of our clothes on our body. We could focus on what we see with our eyes. Maybe it's the birds at the feet or outdoors, or our cat sitting next to us on the sofa. We can open our awareness to what we're hearing. We can open our awareness to what we're feeling and sensing, with all of those internal and intuitive capacities that we have. And so when you cultivate opportunities to allow your mind to settle and become quiet, this is actually something that we crave. And once we kind of short circuit that habit energy, that is the thinking energy and also the talking energy, and allow ourselves that time and opportunity to settle, you're going to find that as that space opens up, it can be a great relief. So, as I've said, a formal meditation practice can be helpful with this, but it's not the only way. And you can use short guided meditations, or those kinds of things if that's helpful for you. But you can also just sit in a chair for 5 minutes and pay attention. And that is actually a very powerful and potent practice that can really help you to just cultivate that quiet and that silence. And then the last suggestion I have is to allow your other than human friends to help you. The animals, the trees, and the plants are incredible teachers for us as we cultivate more silence and quiet in our lives. So some ideas. You could go outside and sit with your back against a tree. This is so grounding. It's so calming. It's so helpful. Trees are incredible teachers, and they will love to connect with you that way and embrace you and help you to drop more deeply into quiet and silence. You can practice with your companion animals. So if you have a dog and you're used to going for your daily walk, leave your phone at home. Leave your headphones at home. Just walk your dog. Walk even maybe without other distractions, such as talking with a friend or anything else. Just be with your dog. Notice what's going on around you. Or you can sit quietly with an animal friend, just doing nothing else but being with them. Go out to the barn and just sit in the stall with your horse. I have chickens. One of my favorite things to do, especially in the evening, is to just go sit with the chickens. I call it chicken TV because they're so entertaining and they're so fun. And it's also a chance for me just to be quiet and be present with them. You can do this with any of your companions. You can also do this if you have wild ones around you. Birds at the feeder, squirrels in the garden, any of those beings, insects. There really are no limits. And then if you live in a place where you can do this, I invite you to find as much time as you can to spend time in nature alone. With the plants, with the animals, with the trees, and again, without doing anything that adds noise to that environment. If you can find time in your day, even these small micro bits of time, a few moments at a time, to cultivate quiet and silence and peace in your inner and in your outer world, you'll find that your connection and your communication with animals and all life begins to awaken and to blossom. So if you'd like some more tools to explore interspecies communication, animal communication, other tips and tools and practices, I've got a free class that's called The Basics of Animal Communication. I'll put a link to that class below. It includes a meditation. And then I've got a lot of free videos here on this YouTube channel, and also a lot of free videos and resources of all kinds on my website. So I invite you to connect, and thanks for watching, and please subscribe and like this channel. It really helps us a lot. It helps me to reach more people with all of the information and tools and practice that help us to create a more peaceful and loving and compassionate world for all beings. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.